You know, tonight is the night before the last day of the year, 2013. What a year of building. I am the American Reverend Zachariah Jackson, and I just want to express some things. I want to talk about a few things that's going on in the nation today. But before I do anything, you know, a good Reverend always go back to the scriptures. So let me begin with Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form, and void and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And God and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. I'll stop there at verse 3. You know, as a man of the cloth, of the clergy, you're bombarded with questions about many things. And you sometimes don't know how to respond to them. You don't know what to say, because one thing outweighs the other outweighs the other, whatever it may be. Well, tonight that's what's on my table, and people email me and of course text me and stuff. Everybody's talking about the President of the United States, Barack Obama. And I got a thing from Facebook as I go to my smartphone. Ohio teacher suspended for "we don't need another black president." Southwest Ohio teacher who allegedly responded after a black high school freshman said he wanted, I guess he wanted to be president. He wanted to become president, that the nation doesn't need another black president. Okay, that's what the teacher says. But let's move beyond foolishness. Let's move beyond all these foolish things. People have the great attack on Barack Obama. And you know, I'm going to say this first and say I don't feel sorry for Barack Obama. I tell you why. Because all the Democratic presidents, they have an attack on. If you go back to Johnson, they attacked Johnson. They attacked Kennedy. They attacked Kennedy. They attacked Johnson. They attacked the Georgian president, Jimmy Carter. They beat him up so bad in 1979 that, boy, you kind of prayed. 1980, they beat him so bad you kind of prayed for the whole state of Georgia. And you know, a lot of people was relieved that he did not get back in office. Of course, he seeked office, but he didn't get back in office. Ronald Reagan beat him. President Ronald Reagan beat him. So they always bastardize, try their best to bastardize the president at the Democratic president. They did the same thing with Bill Clinton. If you look back on his last 3 years or whatever, they tried to beat him up. They beat him up so bad that people forgot the good that he did. They beat him up so bad that they allow a Republican to get back in office, and I guess that's what they're setting up with today. That they're going after the President of the United States so much, that they're beating him up so much, his ratings are down, and all these different things. And so, but the common people of America, which is the largest constituency of the people, I only hope that you use a wise mind. That here's a president that come from where we come from. We, not meaning black, not meaning Asian, not meaning Spanish, not meaning any other, but come from a common ground. This president, since 2009, has helped to rebuild the American economy. If you look at the economy today, the economy is building. If you look at any state in the Union, each state now are rebuilding only because of the actions of the president. Now, you might not have that governor that's going to echo those words and say it was President Barack Obama and Vice President Joe Biden that actually initiate the growth and stability in the state and stuff and in the country. You're not going to get that. People are not going to give that to them. The Democratic governors do, but the Republicans shy away from it because they are shying away from it because they want their party in at any price. That's why you have a party like the Tea Party that popped up and everything. And in 2008, 2009, the United States were near bankruptcy. We were in a very, very bad shape. I don't really blame George W. Bush for it. I don't want to place blame on anybody, but just the growth of many other nations that 30 years before George W. Bush took office, that those nations were basically in barbarism, basically riding a mule. Now they got highways, they got dams, they got everything. So the restructure the whole thing. It's not just to restructure the United States, it's to restructure the whole world to the whole world, human world of community. So we learn how to deal with one another and to be able to share growth with each and every country and, of course, in every state in this union. As I go across some of the State of the Union, State of the State addresses of the many states, and you hear the echoes of the governors as they echo in the halls, in the governor halls, that how their state is picking up and retooling and sending people to school, building bigger seaports, dredging the sea, the ports, and digging deep so bigger ships can come in to deliver supplies. I have to say this right here, and we got to give credit to where it's due. That credit belonged to President Barack Obama and Joe Biden, Vice President Joe Biden, because under their tutorship of this past 6 years, we have grown. Do you know, the other day, I went to buy a car, and this wouldn't have happened had the president not made a committed effort to save the American car business. I'm in the market of buying a car. Do you know I didn't think of American car? I stopped past a Chevrolet dealer not because I was going to buy a car, but just to really kill time. And I was so fascinated at what has happened since the president stepped in. Democratic President Barack Obama and Joe Biden stepped in and saved the auto industry. And now, in a few days, everything go as planned with the credit union and everything. I'll be picking up an American car that I have not bought an American car in, oh my God, since 1987. You understand me? That I'm buying an American car and I'm 6'4". This car, I mean, the seat go back so far that I have to, my legs are pedaling for the pedals. That's how far the seat go back. And it's a Chevy Cruze, and it happened to be one of the new innovation Chevys, the diesel, which the president talked about in 2009, State of the Union address in 2010 and everything, the new cars that was going to come out and things. And the president stepped in. The president stepped in. And, you know, we're turning our backs on the president. And I'm not making a martyr out of the president. I'm a reverend. I'm not saying, oh, President Barack Obama is Jesus or Adam or Abraham. I don't take that route. The president is the president. But one thing I say to the American people, be very careful criticizing this president. Because are you criticizing this president because you're criticizing yourself? Because this president here comes from where you come from. No matter whether you're white or black or no matter what color you are. This president comes from where we come from. People that worked hard. His wife, her father, come from where people that work hard. His mama come from people that worked hard. Yes, there was a lot of travel, and yes, there was a lot of mobility in the beginning stages of his life. But he comes from where people that had to take a buck and say, you know what, I can't just spend this buck just for argument's sake. I got to spend it wisely. So now, for the American people today to be so critical for this president, who are you to be critical for this president? And I'm not saying, oh, because he's a black president. It doesn't matter whether he's black president, white president, this, that, and the president of the United States is the president of the United States. The President of the United States is not to come and knock on my door and say, oh, Mr. Jackson, yes, you need to pay your child support. Oh, no, that's not what a president does. He didn't do it since Hoover. Roosevelt didn't do it. Truman didn't do it. Eisenhower didn't do it. Kennedy didn't do it. Johnson didn't do it. Nixon didn't do it. Ford didn't do it. Jimmy Carter didn't do it. Reagan didn't do it. George Bush didn't do it. Bill Clinton didn't do it. George W. Bush didn't do it. So it's unfair for us to put this chain, this noose around this president and say that this is what he needs to do. He needs to help us, tell us what to do. Well, the president's job, let's move beyond politics. Let's move beyond Republican, Democrat, private party. Let me just say that because I don't want to announce some private parties and give them any strength at all because they're nothing but a bunch of bullies. The president's job is not to ever to actually tell you how to control your family and how to rebuild your community. The president's job is far bigger than that. The president's got to deal with people from all over the world. We see one stage or we see one little glimpse of it and we think we know the whole thing. Why don't we study the presidency and what do the presidents do? Then you know how to vote. This president here, right, without a doubt, was a blessing to the whole nation. And not only to the nation, but to the world. Because it's time. No one, I tell young people, kids in Sunday school that I teach, no one can carry your bucket for you. You have to carry your bucket yourself. And this president has come along and his family has really showed and had to break many doors because people, wasn't ready to accept that. And you know what it is too? I don't think that the people just wasn't ready to accept this president because of the shade of his skin. I think that the people really didn't want to accept this president because what are we saying? With this whole thing since 2008, what are we saying? We are saying that a common person, unlike what that teacher believed, we don't need another black president, whatever. No, what you're saying is you don't need another president for the people because you're insecure. That's what you're saying, teacher. Because it was a stimulus package that the president put together that saved your job. It was a stimulus package that got police officers on the street and firefighters in the firehouses. It was a stimulus package that helped rebuild the American auto industry. So we don't need another black president. All that right there is foolish talk today. It's just foolish talk. All this deep-seated, dirty underskirt biasm is not going to work as we advance in the 21st century. We are today 13 years into the 21st century. Tomorrow night at 12 o'clock would be January 1st, 2014. We will be 14 years in the 21st century. That's just 14 years. My father was born 1918. And born 1980, he was 18 years right into the 20th century. So another few years, I'll be celebrating his centennial, although he's not here, and God rest his soul. I'll be celebrating his centennial. If you look at 2013, and you back up to 2018, and you've seen how we have evolved and grown and learned to grow and learn to teach and this, that, and other. We had come from a society that said, well, if you don't read, you don't need to read, you just use your hands. And now we're working with people to help develop their mind and memory and different things. I'm even working with folks today on memory and how to build themselves up. So to say that this president here is not doing a good job, or to be blasting the president because such and such happened in your community. No, the president is the president of the United States. Your community is where you live. If there's paper on the ground in your community, you're supposed to do. I got to call Washington. Excuse me. Give me to the president. Yes. I got paper on the ground on my block. What should I do? No. Common courtesy says that you're supposed to be a steward in your community and you're supposed to pick that paper up. You're supposed to be a steward in your community, and when you see kids acting up, you're supposed to say something. And if the kids see you conducting yourself right, then after a while they will. But to blast the president as they do on the weekend on the radio, as some of these professors blasting the president. Well, what do you want from, this is the president of the United States. Do you get it? The president that has more responsibility than I do as a reverend. He has more responsibility than me. He has more responsibility than a professor. This is the president of the United States. And people are blasting him and this, that, and that. And it would be different if he was in the firing line and he deserved it. But you're blasting him for things that don't amount really to a hill of beans. Things that we're supposed to do. It isn't the president. I shouldn't have to call the president and say, Mr. President, I think I need to work overtime tomorrow. You think I should stay? The job offered me that I could stay. Should I stay? No, that's my own. If I want a bigger check next week, I will stay. You understand? If I don't, I go home and everything and suffer the consequences. So a lot of things has to change. A lot of things have to change. Mr. President Reagan sat down. But to me, Mr. President, I'm sitting here today as I come to a close of this session, the end of the year. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Vice President Joe Biden. As I sit in this section of my studio, I call it In Front of the Lion. As I sit in front of the lion, you know, this lion up here, I call it Moses Musa. And as I sit in front of this lion, and I say this right here, Mr. President, your ratings are high with me. And if I could vote for you again, I would. But of course we can't because you got to, 2016, you got to go home and come back, I imagine, in 4 years. But anyway, Mr. President, I think that you're doing a wonderful job. The country's a lot better. The retooling of the nation is a lot better. I challenge most of the American people to do a little bit more reading. Read about other states, how they're picking themselves up. Read about where they were and where they're at today and how they're working to rid themselves of poverty and things of that nature. Sending folks back to school and to retool and this, that. And that couldn't have happened, Mr. President, had it not been for you and Joe Biden. That couldn't have happened without you two. So I say this right here. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Vice President Joe Biden. And, well, I'll say this right here, Mr. President, too. I end with this. You know, I've been looking at State of the Union addresses since I was a little boy. Since I was, I don't know, 10, 11, 9, 8, 9, or whatever, since Gerald Ford. Although I can't verbatimly quote the words of all those presidents from Gerald Ford on up. But I would be honored, Mr. President, to be at the State of the Union address, if you can spare a ticket. Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, the United States of America. May God bless you, and good night, and Happy New Year. Let's do this thing. Good night.